Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Meet Coach with Steve, Jeff, and myself, Owen de Graaf. And today we are talking to Jenny Beckford. Hello, Jenny. Welcome.
Hi Owen. Hi Steve. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
Great to have you here, Jenny.
Thank
Um,
you.
hey, as part of the trend that's starting to emerge, we could read all sorts of stuff about you from the bio, the internet, and any other stalking that we've done. But just for fun, give us a brief bio of who you are and what brings you here into coaching.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Jenny Beckford. I'm a parent and teen coach and founder of coaching business Greater Elevation. I'm also an NLP practitioner, and I've just recently qualified in coaching psychology. So I've just achieved my master's. And the what I actually do in terms of coaching is I support parents to connect and communicate effectively with their teenagers. I also help the teens with their mindset, belief systems, and really help them to raise their aspirations. Now, that all stems as me being a mum of twin girls. I mean, they're in their 20s now, but I've been through the teenage years times two, and it was a real challenge for me, and hence this is how I got into it by having that challenge with my teen daughters and decided that, hey, let's set up this coaching business and let's support families.
I love it. Well, yeah, we'll come to some curious questions around that. Where on the planet are you located?
I am in London, England, South London to be precise, and it's a lovely summer's day here, which we're so excited about because we don't really see much of the sun here.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thanks for that. We've got such a global audience that personally I love to find out where we are, what's going on. And with technology like this, it's really great to connect with amazing coaches from all over the planet. So
Yeah.
we're excited that the UK and the sunshine here is being represented.
Yeah.
So as we get started, tell us a little bit more about the journey that you alluded to. Like what brought you into, the profession of coaching?
Okay, so for me, it was going back to a period a few years back when my daughters were in their sort of late teens. And prior to that, I became a single mum when they were about six. And as they got the transition into being teenagers, I noticed that suddenly there was a bit of a change in them. So I was a bit like coming home one day, what have you done with my children? Like, where are they? Where are they coming back? So I embarked on, I would say, a bit of a challenge with my daughters. I was working at the time supporting young people, been supporting young people for well over a decade now. And I'd always get positive outcomes, was mentoring them, coaching, supporting, but then coming back into my household, it was a bit like a battlefield. I'm just gonna be open and honest. You would have it that I'd come home and I don't know, we I kind of have conversations, and sometimes the conversations wouldn't go so well. Ended up me maybe trying to um, tell off one of my daughters. Then we'd have the other twin come in. So then I nicknamed the tag team. They're the tag team. And what the tag team used to do is, why are you speaking to her? Mum, she wants time. And it was just getting to a point where there were times I would just storm out the house. Imagine this adult would just storm out. The girls would be looking out the window. Mum, where are you going? I don't know. I mean, going for a long walk. I mean, I didn't even drive. I'd probably walk to the shop and come back to cool off. So that was going on for quite some time. So it would be like coming to work, everything's fine, but coming home. And it was getting to a point where my daughters, they'd for me, I would speak to them and they would, if I say to them, you need to do this, they say, why? And then I was saying, why are you questioning me? I'm the mum. We know you're the mum, but why are you asking us to do this? And this is how we were doing. We were just hitting a brick wall. So in the end, I I don't know how it came across. I think I was on Instagram one day and I saw this coach pop up, and I didn't really, at that time for me, I was mentoring young people, but not realizing I was coaching as well. Didn't really know about coaching. Saw her, thought she sounds good. I'll sign up to be. She had like an academy, and cut a long story short, she helped me to turn the spotlight within. So I came to her saying, my daughters won't listen, they won't do this, they won't do that, and all of that stuff. And she said, no, you need to take accountability. What about how you've been showing up? So it was a case for me that actually I could actually be the main problem why we're not being able to communicate. And I just turned that around, worked on myself, did a lot of inner work, self-development work, and then in that time decided that I was going to set up, support teenagers first. So I became a certified teen coach, and then thought, what about the parents? And then as I started to do this work on myself, I found that the relationship with me and my daughters really started to strengthen. We had a great bond. And now today they're in their 20s. We are really, really close. So I decided that I'm going to support the parents to help them to unlearn the old thought patterns and help them to, I kind of call it the old school parenting, like, come on, guys, let's look at a new way. Not saying that you're not a good parent, not saying that it may not have worked for that time, but let's look at doing something else. And I'm going to help you and give you those strategies and that support, but not just from a surface level. I help the parents to look at the root cause of perhaps why they haven't got that connection or why they're not communicating, because it usually stems back to when you were a child yourself. So here I am today doing what I love. And I support parents from all over the world. I've got a Facebook group of about 827 parents that are able to get access to me, strategies, videos, but I also have support where I offer group coaching, one-to-one coaching. And then there's the other side of I support the young people as well in schools, deliver workshops. So yeah, this is what I do, and this is what I'm really passionate about.
Oh. And how long have you been doing this as a coach?
It's been coming up to 6 years.
All right.
Yeah, 6 years.
So just before COVID, you started moving.
Yeah. Just kind of, just started online in COVID actually. Yeah, just that.
Oh. How was, just because you said there was a going within yourself, but how was the reaction of your kids when they saw, Mom, what's going on?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, really. When they discovered that I was no longer shouting like a crazy woman and speaking in a calm voice, they would say to me, "Why are you speaking in that voice?" And they would say, "Oh, are you being sarcastic?" No, this is how I talk. That's not how you talk. So now I was faced with another challenge because now I'm changing. They think that actually, what on earth is going on with me? So we'd have it that when we'd have discussions, I'd set a boundary. If their voice goes up 2 decibels, I just measure it. Like if it goes up higher than me, they'll get a first warning. If it happens again, I will say to them, if this happens again, we're going to leave the conversation. Now, they didn't like that because usually my reaction is I'll just get my coat and storm out. But I remember what my coach was saying about the change. You've got to be the change for them to see the change. And after a while, they started to really warm to it. And they've been fine. Yeah, been fine.
What else did you do? Because what you're talking about here is it's so true. I see it in organizations all the time. You know, one of us in the team, we start to do something differently. As we change, it actually increases some fear around for other people because now they can't predict what we're doing. And so there's this whole often an escalation of the behaviors. And for us that are changing, whether we're leaders or parents, for you to demonstrate, hang on, this is progress, this is a good thing, this is not me failing. Actually, how do I keep moving through this is such an important step because it is tricky when we show up differently. So what else were you doing to help you continue on this path of change, even when you were facing increased resistance from your daughters?
Okay, so there's one exercise that I did firstly, and I asked them to describe me in 3 sentences or 3 words, and I was a bit like, what are they going to say? So that was at the beginning of the journey. Yeah.
What a vulnerable question.
Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. So what I did, I asked them separately because they're twins. So I asked them separately when one wasn't in the house and one was in the house. So the first twin, Victoriana, she's, because they're 1 minute apart, I came up to her and I said to her, can we have a little chat? She's like, oh, what now? I'm like, just a little chat, just a light chat. So I said, I want you to describe me in 3 sentences or 3 words. It's fine. She's like, are you sure you're going to listen? Yeah, just go ahead. I won't say anything. I'll listen to what you have to say. So the first thing she said is, you don't listen, which was true. You're funny. And I thought, oh, that's great. And you don't give us an opportunity to be able to explain how we feel without jumping in. So what did I do? I just went on oh, I'm funny. Oh yeah, you like my jokes. And she was like, Mum, stop. No, you haven't listened to the other one. Yeah, but you find me funny. That's all I was thinking about. So later on, I asked my other twin. She said exactly the same thing, and I was like, if you both were in the house, I would have thought that you would had a look. She said, no, it's the same thing. And so that set the foundation for me to now go ahead and say, right, you've got some work to do. So how I'd approach that is ask them within the next sort of 6 months again to see what their insights are. Have I changed? And yeah, it was great. You know, you listen more. You're still funny. You listen more, and you are just amazing to be around, as opposed to you was not before, kind of thing. So yeah, so that kind of gave me the footer. And then that's the exercises assessments that I get the parents that I support to initially do. Sometimes there is resistance, and I'm like, hey, they're going to be the ones to tell you the truth, because they see you, they get a better picture of you than when you're at work, because it's easy to go to work and pretend that we're all good. It's easy, we all do it, that mask. But at home, this is where nobody can see you, your mask is off, and they're going to be able to tell you. And I learned a lot about myself, and it helped me to have more of an open dialogue to my daughters, because now that they knew that I can accept how they view me and what their viewpoint is, now, even now as adults, they're able to speak to me and say to me, do you remember years ago you used to say this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. But sorry, I wasn't really in a good place. And we can kind of laugh about it. And just I can sort of say, I know I probably wasn't being that parent that you probably wanted, but how am I now? And I said, yeah, you're great now. And I know that you probably, I was a lot of pressure, was a single parent. I was doing a lot of overcompensating with them as well. Anything they wanted, they could have. So there was a lot there in terms of not setting boundaries, a lot of codependency as well. So I had to sort of clean that up as well in order for me to be able to have that connection with them, and for them to be able to want to be around me and have discussions with me. Yeah.
It is important, and I think it doesn't matter if you're a parent or an organization. If you want to make a change, you need to first analyze where you are. Otherwise, you cannot make any change. So it's basically with that exercise, with those 3 questions or sentences, gives you actually a certain feedback. What do they think? And that allows you to improve. And I think so. It's really. Are you using other tools?
In terms of with coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have something that I've made up, a sort of connection guide in terms of the stages of how to connect. So with the tools that I've put together in particular, I've said to parents, encourage them to have we not sort of date nights, but have individual times to be with their child. Now, if they've got one child, then hey, but some parents have multiple children. So it's about having that set time. But even with one child who's a teenager, we know teenagers like to lock themselves in their room and do their own thing. Set a time with them to do something that they enjoy. Another tool that I use that I've devised is called, I called it not a contract, but like non-negotiables, where a parent and a teenager would sit down and we would talk about what are negotiables and what are non-negotiables. So maybe a non-negotiable may be that on a school night, you have to be in at 9 o'clock. That is something that we're not going to negotiate on. And then you have that dialogue with your teen, and you create a non-negotiable, which is a contract. and you sign, they sign, put it on somewhere like the fridge, and it is there for us to look at and to review. So that way, sometimes teens forget, and you just be like, well, look at what it says on the non-negotiable um non-negotiable on the fridge, and we look at that. I also get families to create a mission. How with your business you have a mission statement. I get families to create a mission statement for themselves, for their families, what does it stand for. And I also use tools, a tracker in terms of for teens who may struggle with routine, and have something there to help them, not to overwhelm them, but to kind of keep a track on what they're doing and what they could improve on. So those little tweaks sort of help the teenagers as well. And it helps maybe parents stop yelling, helping them to kind of take that independence, because a lot of parents, they sometimes don't want to give their teenager that independence. And I was very much like that, codependent, want to fix everything. I'll do it. So yeah, so those are some of the tools that I have sort of devised in-house, that I give them. And then we look at sort of theories as well about what parenting style do they fit into, and why do they fit into that parenting style, and trying to give them, look at their traits and see where they feel they sit and why do they sit. And usually it goes back to when they were being raised by their parents. That was the style that their parents used as well. So it's really about helping them to have that self-awareness and to be able to tap into, okay, how can I turn this around, kind of thing.
Talking about, just mentioned parenting styles. Are there a certain amount of parenting styles?
Yes. So there's top of my head, there are four parenting styles. I'm trying to think of the one that I came under, actually, because there's authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved, and neglectful. I can't remember which one I came under. I think I was trying to be the authoritarian, but it didn't really sit too well with my daughters. And with the authoritarian is I think in the beginning I was trying to solve problems, but solve problems not together, but solve problems for them, and really trying to set down the law. But being authoritative, it means that you're setting clear rules and expectations. But I was yelling all the time. So I don't know how I thought that I would fit into that way. That was the authoritative. I was more fitting into the authoritarian, where I'm just, yeah, this is what we're going to do. It's one way or the highway, that kind of way, which is not really good. So I really wanted to slip into the authoritative, where I'm helping them to solve problems together, not trying to pin them down. And sometimes when you present that to, well, some of the parents I presented it to, it sometimes hits a bit of a nerve, but I said, it's great, Rome wasn't built in one day. Let's see how I can help you to support yourself to kind of move into maybe more of the authoritative role, as opposed to maybe authoritarian role. So they're like, okay, great. Okay, let's see how we do this. So, but it's just at the beginning when I support these parents, I look at the 4 styles of the parenting and see where they think that they sit, and look at their traits and get them to look at that and see where they feel that they sit within that. So yeah, and again, I think for me, when I first saw it, I was a bit like, right, okay, yeah.
I really appreciate that. It's not all of us coach parents and kids, but there's a real parallel to what you're talking about with parents and situational leadership theory in organizations, or relational dynamics. How we show up in a relationship influences how people respond to us, which is the key essence of where you're saying we got to do our work too. As we pay attention, as we show up differently at work, with ourselves in life, we can't turn off. Everywhere we go, there we are. And so for us to be mindful of that and to have that vulnerability, because I think sometimes it can be easier in a workplace to look at strengths, gaps, opportunities, but when we get home, it's like, no, I can't look there. And the invitation that I'm hearing you pointing us to is, well, we can be coached like everywhere. We can design relationships. We can hold accountability for us and others. We can redesign. We can align on mission and values. We can have trackers, score sheets, and accountability. We can do the things that we know work to create behavior change in those areas of our life that are most important to us. And I'm really loving that reminder that the areas of the wheel of life aren't separate.
Yeah.
That's a really great reminder.
Another thing that I use as well as part of a tool, it's by Gary Chapman, you probably know, the love languages. He has a love language quiz. And I asked the parents to do this with their child and just to see what is their love language. I think one of my daughter's love language was she likes to receive gifts, which I knew that was going to be that was going to be her one. I came up as wanting to spend quality time. That is me. I don't care. You don't have to buy me anything. I just need to have that time with you. So it's good for parents to do that, to see their love language and to see their child's love language as well, and have a conversation about that as well. So that's something that I get them to do in a fun environment, because I say to parents, don't make it out that it's something serious, something lighthearted, say, you know what, I've got this quiz and I'm going to do it. Do you want to do it? Kind of, trying to make it sound like it's going to be exciting, but it's not really. But yeah, so that's one of the other tools that I use as well. And I get them to give me that feedback. And I get them to have that conversation. What do you think you might come up as, or what do you think? Were you surprised? And it really opens up that dialogue as well with them.
Love that. You mentioned love languages as a book. Are there other books that stand out either for you as a coach or in your work as being important?
How to Do the Work by a lady called Nicole Pereira. I don't know if I'm spelling her name right. I believe she is a psychologist. That has been a really great book for me because it allows me to go deeper in terms of the type of work that I do. She talks a lot about, again, things that are stemming from your childhood, the root of maybe you're not being able to set boundaries. What was it like in your household as a child with your parents? How was your relationship with your parents? So that for me is one really great book that stands out for me in terms of that kind of work, because the work that I do, again, is not surface level, it's at the root. And when I coach the parents, I say to them, again, you're not a bad parent. I give them my scenario of me running out the door and they're like, oh, they're quite relieved. But I know, me being a teenager as well, I had a bit of an up and down relationship with my mum because she was a single parent. She was under pressure, but I didn't know that until I got to this sort of age, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see it. So it's really, yeah, that book's been a game changer for me. Another book I would say, top of my head, that I found really useful, Psycho-Cybernetics. Again, I can't remember the person's name, but that really goes deep in on mindset as well. Atomic Habits, that's a great one. I think everybody's read that one. Looking at a little bit of sort of the compound of doing things a bit by bit in order for you to be able to create that change. So that was another one. And talking of a compound effect by somebody called Simon. I'm really bad at names, but I know his name is Simon. Yeah, so those are the key books I can say in my mind in terms of really sort of helped me in terms of with the work that I do. I believe, people say knowledge is power, but I believe applied knowledge is power. And I feel that, in the work that I do, it's about making sure that I'm mastering my craft and, reading when I can, and, making sure that I'm really being able to go out there and do a lot of service. There's loads of books. What I usually do is I listen to audiobooks, and I've got this this skill that I picked up from a coach. I listen to it on times 2. And I'm able to understand it, but apparently the science is that you're able to absorb it a lot quicker. And because I'm always busy, I'm on the go, I can finish a book within days. I do go back and I perhaps do take notes, but for speed, I'm like, okay, I've read that book now, so I need to go back and listen to that as well. So yeah, and also I read a lot of brain development books, for teens as well, because again, it's just being able to just educate the parents that I support as well to say, this is why your teen does what they do. This is what's going on in their brain as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I really love that you're pointing there. There's my wife and I were talking about this. So we're a family of three teens, or one soon to be teen, and two definitely in there. And there's a way that certainly I forget that kids are growing. I can be very logical and rational. At least I tell myself that. And so there's an assumption that I have that they are ready, willing, and able to have a logical, rational conversation at all times. And biologically, they're often not. Um, Especially with younger kids, they can be so immersed in what they're doing
Mm.
that they're just not ready to have that sort of conversation. And so part of that reminder is, to your point, how do we set the scene? How do we create the space?
Yeah.
And how can I be mindful of where they are and not just project my own expectations upon them and then get upset at them when how I'm treating myself doesn't work in the same way
Yeah.
as them, but I haven't even set them up for success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I always say to parents it's about modeling the behavior, because believe it or not, they are watching you. You are the first, you're their caregivers. And a lot of the traits and things that they do, they're going to pick that up from you. You may think that they're not watching you, but some of the conversations that I have with my daughters, I'm like, really? Yeah, we knew that. I'm like, wow, and yeah, it's just really just being mindful of how you're showing up, even the conversations that you're having with people, conversations that, you might come home from work and, oh, I hate my boss. You have to be mindful how you have, you make remarks like that, and kind of turn it around. And because I say to the parents, you can become a coach per se, as older, when your children get older, you have a tendency that you want to always be there to do things for them. And there's a term for that, helicopter parenting, where you're just always over your child, hovering over your child. But if you can turn it around and, bring up topics that you can discuss, I saw this in the newspaper today, or I saw this on social media. What do you think? Kind of grasp that and see what they're thinking. That's a technique I get parents to use a lot. Just bring up some conversations about things that are happening. Oh, did you see that on TikTok? Somebody said this. What did you think? What would you do if you was in that position? So kind of can have sort of light-hearted conversations, and obviously age-appropriate conversations. Everybody, your child, but there are ways that you can kind of have conversations like that. Yeah.
When I was listening to both of you, what came up to mind is actually it's different roles. So as a parent, when you come home, you're a parent. When you're at work, you work. But if you look at kids, and that's a question I have for you, where do you see, because basically when they're younger, they start as a baby role, then they get to the kid role, and then they get to the teen role. When can you see that they change the role from a kid to a teen?
Okay, so I think if I speak from my experience, I noticed that transition when they started getting into high school. So that was around that's sort of preteen, so around 11, 12. I saw the different change in attitude. Um, yeah, you kind of see that switch. But usually when they're transitioning into that next part, they're going into high school, usually that you see the transition then. Sometimes it can be a lot younger. I mean, I've spoken to a couple of parents that have noticed that their child, I think 9 or 10. I'm like, my goodness, what's going on? But yeah, and I always say, you parents say, how can we prepare ourselves? And I think sometimes you can never quite be that prepared because you're just thinking, oh, my baby, you know, but not your baby anymore. So it's really just, again, doing the work on yourself, and just really finding out about your children. Like my daughters used to come home and I asked them something and they might say, I don't want to talk about it. And this was before I had the coaching. I would just push the button. Now we've erupted into a big argument. She'd said that she didn't want to talk about it. Why didn't I leave her alone? You know? So as she's got older, even them being adults, you know, I respect that. Okay, you're not ready to talk about it. Absolutely fine. We can talk. If I'm here if you want to talk, that kind of thing. So it's really just kind of knowing your child and not taking things personal, because this is what we do as parents. Your child says something, oh, I hate you. Like you literally now taking it, I'm a bad parent, I'm this, I'm that, you know. But it's not the case. It's sometimes how they express themselves, it's sometimes their hormones. But again, as I said, it's about as much as you can having a conversation with them, waiting for them to cool down, maybe taking them out somewhere and just seeing how, you know, I noticed you was upset today, you know, just little things just to sort of kind of get your foot in the door. That's what I call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that change they make, and as a parent, it is for you as well. How do I handle this? And it's also, I think, if you're two in a relationship, each one can look at it differently, and that makes sometimes. So it's sometimes not about how do you react to your teen, but how do the two parents make sure they're on the same level, because
Yeah.
if you're not, they take advantage of it and you're completely lost. So I think that is also, it's not only between parents and teens, but I think it's also between the
Oh
two
yeah.
parents
Yeah.
and the grandparents. That's even
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I find that a lot as well with parents that are co-parenting as well. I mean, I had that experience where I was co-parenting before and it was like I just couldn't. There was one point I just like, that man, it just drives me mad. But now I'm in a better place. It's good. But I have parents that have that. And then they have this analogy called the bad cop, the good cop. And I take them away from that. Let's not label the bad cop, the good cop. You just have two different views, but it's just about trying the best to meet in the middle and have that conversation. Is there something that particularly that parent you may not favor, or, you know, it's hard, especially if you're in a solo parent family where they may see that parent at the weekends or what have you. And it's just about having conversations as best as you can. Obviously, at sometimes it's not possible to have conversations, and you might have to get a mediator. And I guess that's something that people have to look at. But as much as possible, try and be on the same page. And if not, have a discussion as to why. Why is it that you have a different view? Why is it that they have a different view? But I had a parent that was saying about the bad cop and good cop, and I was coaching her out of that, looking at her values, looking at his values. He's quite laid back. She sees her being the one that's quite strict. He's quite laid back. Maybe get him involved a bit more, you know, have conversations. So yeah, that comes up quite a bit as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for all of this. One of my key insights from today, and I've heard this all the way through, I've mentioned it a couple of times, is just the power of coaching and being coach-like. You know, you spoke about designing the relationship with your client, with clients, but actually with your kids. Have a conversation. Create the space to have the conversation that wants to have. You spoke about emotional intelligence, you know, helping kids to do it, but actually you're role modeling you as a parent, as a human. Hey, if I want to help my kids react differently, how do I react differently when they react? Oh, I need to be mindful of that. I need to give myself a compassion and grace to be able to show up and to be able to have the support, the resources, and the reminders, of course, that we all forget this. And one of the powers I see of coaching conversations is just to remember that, you know, we don't have to be perfect, but we do have to give ourselves permission often to be human. And that as a parent, that's a wonderful gift to our kids when we can show up and learn how to get better at what we're doing in relationship with those people that are important. So thanks for reminding me of those insights.
You're
For those
welcome.
people that are really curious or inspired by something that you've been sharing on this call today, how can people reach out and connect with you?
Okay, so I'm on quite a few of the socials. I'm on Instagram as Jenny Beckford1, and also another Instagram account under my business account, Greater Elevation. You can get me on there. Facebook, Jenny Beckford. I've also got the Facebook community for parents called Elevating Parents to Elevate Teens. Feel free to join that community. There's some resources. I come in and show up in the community, and there's also ways to access me to get that extra support also. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well under Jenny Beckford as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll put a whole lot of those links somewhere below the video so people can find you, because I've really enjoyed this conversation,
Thank you.
and as a parent, I think it's a really great reminder that we don't have to do what we've always done, and we can notice what works, what we want more of, and that there's resources for us to, well, face the challenges that life will always bring to us, especially with kids.
Definitely. I always say to parents as well that getting intervention is self-care. So just think of that as if you have to get intervention, self-care, that's your self-care. And I talk about sometimes when I support teens, parents might say, oh, I've been trying to get through to them. How come you're getting through to them? I say simply, I'm not their parent. So there's not any emotional ties there. Somebody asked me a question actually, if my daughters were when they were teens, would I coach them? And I said, no, not because I'm not competent, but I think the emotional ties there, yeah, that it's kind of sort of blurred that a bit. So I'm able to coach your teens from a case of not being biased. Yes, I'm external, but at the same time, I have a clear lens. I'm not a family member, so that's how it actually works. So I always say to parents, having coaching for yourself, having coaching for your team does not mean failure. Even with teenagers, it gives them, even if they're doing well in all areas, sometimes I get parents going, oh, my teen's doing really well, but that's fine. It just gives them that edge in terms of giving them that sort of advantage to have somebody to support them in pushing towards their goals as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Jenny. It was really interesting and reminding as parents that we also have that responsibility to do the best for our teens so that they can become young adults in a good way. So thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
until next time, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very, very much for having me. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Evan. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.